Hi everyone and welcome back to Bonnie Astrology. Today we're discussing the full moon in Gemini happening on the 27th of November 2023 and what it means for your zodiac sign. As always, if you do enjoy this video, you can give it a thumbs up to let me know that you liked it. If you want more astrology updates from me, you can subscribe to the channel and you can follow me on my socials listed in the description. As always, be cautious. There are scammers who operate on YouTube and on Instagram pretending to be different astrologers, tarot readers, and soliciting readings via DM, follow, whatever that is. It's never me. I'm never going to reach out to you directly offering any kind of service. So bear that in mind, particularly as this full moon is in Gemini, which is to do with social media and the internet, and that Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, would be squaring Neptune, which is the planet of deceit and confusion. So be extra careful around the time of this full moon that you know who you're talking to online and you are not being duped by someone, because Gemini is also trickster energy and Mercury, its ruler, is a trickster planet. So do bear that in mind. It's one of the themes of this full moon. But let's have a little look at this full moon in general. So this is happening at 4 degrees of Gemini. So if you have anything at around 3, 4, 5 degrees of Gemini in your natal chart, this full moon is going to impact you significantly. It is not as strong as an eclipse, obviously, but typically if there is a full moon that is conjunct one of your natal planets, especially if you have other transiting planets impacting you, this can add an exclamation mark onto what the themes are that come up for you at the time of this full moon in your Gemini house. So this full moon is happening in the sign of Gemini. Gemini is the third sign of the zodiac, and Gemini is associated with communication, words, speaking, information, facts, answers, what it is that you're saying, what it is that you're hearing, what it is that you're listening to. Your words have particular power around the time of a full moon in Gemini. And full moons themselves are times of culmination, they're times of heightened emotion, they're times of heightened intuition. But Gemini is a more logical energy. So it's likely that if you're operating from a place of intuition, you're not going to operate unless you absolutely have the facts. The difficulty with this is that around the time of this full moon, Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, is going to be squaring Neptune, which rules illusions, deceits, confusion, and Mercury being in shadow at this point in Sagittarius, because Mercury will go retrograde in the 13th and has entered the shadow period as of the 25th of November. Mercury can already be adding a little bit of confusion because Mercury in Sagittarius wants to see the bigger picture, but Mercury as a planet prefers to see the facts and the logic. And the square to Neptune can mean that the information that we think we're getting could actually be a lie, it could be deceitful, or it could just be a complete misunderstanding because one person's words are probably not being interpreted exactly as they say around this time by others. So it can be a case of complete miscommunication rather than anything deceptive, but with Mercury ruling the internet and Neptune being deceit, just do be extra cautious whenever you're operating online or even having conversations online. If you're having important conversations around this time, I would suggest doing it in person. The element of doing it online may add more opportunity for miscommunication, reading into something that someone has said, not hearing the tone of voice, not getting the joke, that kind of thing can come up with a full moon in Gemini while Mercury is in a square with Neptune. This can bring issues with conversations, issues with communication, because there is that misinterpretation, there is that miscommunication, and there is that misinformation. It can also bring about data issues, accidentally deleting files, accidentally moving files, not knowing where you've put something, phone issues. This can, of course, feel very Mercury retrograde energy, where your phones, your devices are acting up a little bit around this time too. Be extra cautious of taking your phone in a bath or having your phone near something with water like the kettle or steam or something like that, because devices could fall foul at this time because of the Mercury square to Neptune and the full moon square to Saturn in Pisces. With the Piscean energy in the mix, you could easily drop your phone off a boat. You could easily drop your phone in the bath. You could easily, get steam in your MacBook. I don't know, running out of examples. But There could be issues with technology and water, so just be extra careful of that around this time. So this full moon is actually opposite Mars in Sagittarius. And what's interesting about this is that the new moon in November, the new moon in Scorpio, was conjunct Mars in Scorpio. So both lunations in November have had aspects, close aspects to Mars, albeit in both cases in different signs. So with the full moon in Gemini opposing Mars in Sagittarius, an opposition to Mars from a full moon makes things that little bit more emotionally challenging, a little bit more emotionally defensive, a bit more emotionally combative, possibly short-tempered, possibly quite irritable. And possibly this tension and this discord is coming through conversations surrounding foreign affairs with Sagittarius, international policy. It can be to do with our belief systems, our religious belief systems, our religious perspectives, our viewpoints, whether we be atheist, agnostic, Christian, Muslim. It can be discord among people who have different belief systems, religiously speaking, with the Mars being in Sagittarius. Because when Mars is in Sagittarius, Mars is where we get our energy, but it's also where we tend to have fights. So this can be fights surrounding foreign policy, foreign affairs, religious beliefs. Our belief system in general, even if it's not necessarily religious, it can certainly generate a lot of discord surrounding these things. And because the Sun is in Sagittarius, Mercury is in Sagittarius, Mercury is in shadow, and it will retrograde from Capricorn back into Sagittarius, there's a lot of review, there's a lot of energy going through the Sagittarius part of our charts individually, but also collectively as themes of foreign affairs, religion, global issues. Those kind of things are where people are getting very riled up with Mars being in Sagittarius. So when it opposes the Gemini full moon, the way that this comes across is that there's a lot of emotion going into these debates, these conflicts, this discourse that is happening with the opposition to Mars being in Sagittarius. People can feel very challenged when it comes to their belief systems, more defensive about their belief systems, more defensive about their viewpoints even. And the full moon adds a bit of emotional intensity to this. And because the full moon is in Gemini, it might be that in both cases, where there is an argument, both people might actually not be seeing the facts as they are. With the opposition to the full moon in Gemini, Gemini likes logic, Gemini likes facts, everyday thinking. And Gemini, of course, does gather the facts. Gemini is associated with our information, but without the Sagittarius energy, this information, these facts lose their meaning. They lose the bigger picture. And similarly, when we don't have the Gemini energy coming into play, we can completely lose sight of relative truth. We can completely lose sight of the facts. And this can lead to arrogance. It can lead to issues of religious fundamentalism, thinking that you're always right, thinking that there is no other viewpoint but your own. And so the opposition has its necessity around this time, because when we have so many planets in Sagittarius, people can get incredibly hung up on their own belief system. They can get incredibly hung up on their own perspectives. And there may, objectively, there's nothing wrong with having belief systems. There's nothing wrong with having your own viewpoints. The issue runs in where you cannot communicate with somebody else who maybe has a different perspective. And it's not about getting anybody to change their perspectives. It's more so about being able to listen and perhaps learn from someone else's perspectives and someone else's viewpoint. Gemini full moons tend to bring opportunities for communication, for conversation, for saying, this is how I see it, this is what I believe to be true, this is what I see as the fact, have you read this study? The Gemini full moon is the ultimate person asking for a source. Whenever you say something, you say, well, 90% of people do this, and they're like, well, what's the source of this? Gemini full moons like to have facts. And so with so much emphasis on communication and conversation around this time, you may find that there are important conversations coming up in your life. You may find that people are offering you up information. Now, as I said, try to be a little bit cautious when it comes to the information that you are being offered up, because there is the potential for miscommunication and illusion and deceit with the Mercury square to Neptune. Now, the full moon itself is squaring Saturn in Pisces. This in itself is somewhat tricky too, because it is bringing into place a testing moment for boundaries. This may test boundaries in relationships where perhaps you do have a different perspective with somebody, and either they or you want to steamroll the other person into seeing things from your point of view. And it's nothing to do with whether one is right or one is wrong, but in a relationship, if you're not able to be heard with the Gemini element, you may realize that this is not a relationship that you can have healthy communication, have healthy discourse, have healthy conversations. Because you may be coming up against people who feel lack of sympathy, lack of empathy. With Saturn and Pisces, there can absolutely be empathy and compassion fatigue, where people are so burnt out emotionally that they can't feel anything, and therefore can feel a lack of compassion, can feel a lack of empathy with other people. And the interesting thing I find about the square to Saturn is that Gemini in astrology actually rules the shoulders. And Saturn is very weighty and very heavy. And so you may want to check in with yourself around this time if you are actually carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, and what is that doing for you? How is that making you feel? How is that affecting your quality of life? And is that actually bringing anything to the table? Because sometimes whenever we are so weighed down by the emotions of the world, so weighed down by the emotions of others, and it's not about not caring. It isn't about switching off your compassion, switching off your empathy. But you have to ask yourself how useful you can actually be to others, how helpful you can actually be, and how much you can contribute if you're absolutely worn out emotionally and you don't feel a thing. You know, you're feeling so tired, you're feeling so anxious, you're feeling so worried. How much can you really contribute from that space? If that is what you want to do, you want to contribute. So with Saturn and Pisces, perhaps this is a good full moon to set some boundaries, particularly when it comes to the media, particularly when it comes to the information that you are ingesting. With Gemini, perhaps you want around the time of this full moon to take a social media detox. Perhaps you want to take a couple of days offline, off the grid. Words might be getting to you. You might feel like other people are colder in their communication. You might feel that other people are lacking in sympathy, empathy, whatever it is. Fairness maybe, but you might be feeling this weight on your shoulders. And this could be a good opportunity with Saturn and Pisces to set up a boundary emotionally, psychically, spiritually, or even towards social media, the media itself. Any social media platforms where you're getting a lot of information, you might be having information overload, fatigue at the time of this full moon. And it would be a good time to put a boundary in place. And boundaries can be temporary. This can be temporarily putting your phone in a drawer for a couple of days and using one of the old handsets where you can't get any internet on your phone. Something like that. Mercury squaring Neptune, as I've mentioned, it does have this element of miscommunication and confusion. There is possibility for deceit. Unfortunately, a Gemini full moon typically brings a lot of clarity. This can muddy the waters. This can bring confusion to the information that you're receiving. It might not necessarily be completely clear. Gemini is a sign of duality. Perhaps seek a second opinion. Perhaps be wary of energetic vampires, whether that comes in the form of someone constantly talking about the same thing over and over and over and you needing a bit of a break from that conversation. Perhaps it is scrolling your phone late at night. We're all guilty of this. Well, maybe not all of us, but I definitely am. Scrolling your phone before bed. Pisces energy with Saturn being there and Neptune being there. Pisces is to do with our sleep. So this could be a good time to decide you're going to switch your phone off a couple of hours before bed and not actually engage with, you know the way, well, maybe this is just me, or this is maybe just a few people, but when you're lying in bed at night and you start scrolling your phone, you start to think of the most random things. Like, I wonder why pie is called pie, or you start to wonder about really odd, obscure things that you don't wonder about during the day, and then you suddenly have to know everything. Is a better time to maybe put your phone on the other side of the room so that you can't access it so quickly and keep yourself awake at night. Full moons do tend to keep us awake a bit longer. It's harder to sleep notoriously under a full moon for most people. This is actually proven scientifically. So it'd be a good time to look at what sleep disturbances are affecting you aside from the full moon. So spiritual and religious discord is of course common underneath this full moon in Gemini. In October we had Mars opposite Jupiter, which added to this spiritual, religious discord over foreign affairs. These type of things are going to be amplified again under this full moon. But full moons can also bring us some degree of clarity, some degree of answer, and some degree of information that we maybe didn't have before. But as I say, just be a little bit careful with this one. And remember that your words do have power. there'll probably be at least once in your life where you look back on a time where you wish you hadn't said anything. And it might well be a Gemini full moon. I can think of one for myself. But it can be a time when you look back and you think, I wish I hadn't said that. Less said, soonest mended. This is a good time for communication in some ways because it can bring about information. It can bring about a want to talk about things, but it can bring miscommunication, misinformation just as much. So do mind that your words have power. Try to be extra clear in what it is that you say. And if that means you have to say less, so be it, with the full moon in Gemini. Another thing that is happening around this time is that Venus is going to be conjunct the South Node in Libra. So Venus and the South Node are meeting up at 22 degrees of Libra, and so this might be a placement that you have in your chart. Interestingly enough, this is triggering the eclipse in October. So if you think back to October, what was maybe going on for you in terms of relationships, in terms of partnerships, in terms of justice, in terms of fairness, and in terms of equality. This might be something that is coming up again in under this full moon at around the end of November. You may run into an ex, you may run into an old relationship of some kind, could be a best friend. You may run into someone that is, for whatever reason, in your past. So someone you've not spoken to in a while, someone you've not had communication with, or someone where you have effectively severed some kind of cord with this person. It can be a time of running into someone from the past, hearing from someone from the past, most likely a relationship that was quite close, so a best friend, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a spouse, something like that. And it can also be a time when you may hear news that is somewhat surprising of a couple in your life that you know that are separating, that are divorcing. This can come as quite a shock because oftentimes with the eclipses being in relationship signs such as Libra or Scorpio, sometimes these shocks can be quite surprising, not necessarily ones that we saw coming. So when the South Node and Venus get together, it can be a time of dissolving relationships. This might also be a reset in your relationship life if this is hitting either a natal point or a progress point in your chart, because it can be the dissolving of relationship karma. This can be the ending of a chapter, a cycle, a pattern in your relationship life where you are ready to wipe the slate clean, to forgive or to forget or to let go, with the South Node and Venus being next to each other in the sign of Libra. So I'm going to get a tarot card for this full moon in Gemini, and then I'm going to get into what it means for each of the individual zodiac signs. Ooh, King of Swords. Being logical, being rational, using your intellect, thinking. The King of Swords is not an emotional man. He's usually a lawyer or a policeman, usually in law enforcement, usually in a career that is somewhat conservative in nature with the King of Swords. But he is someone who thinks logically. He uses facts, uses information. He doesn't think with his emotions. He probably doesn't access his intuition as far as he knows. But obviously if you work in anything that you grow and develop and you use a certain degree of intuition in your career, the more advanced that you get in it. So I think this is really a nod to being logical, using your mindset, using your facts, using your figures, trying to be detached and cool about the information that you receive as well. You also have the Six of Cups, so this can be a time when you're reconnecting with someone from your past. You might be running into an ex, you might be running into an old relationship. You may also just as easily be running into someone where the relationship did not get off the ground initially. And the final card is the World, which is to do with foreign affairs. So there could absolutely be something coming up in the news surrounding global affairs, foreign policy, worldwide issues with the King of Swords and the Six of Cups. This could be something that's been going on for quite a while with the World card here. And there could be the potential that something in your life or perhaps globally is maybe wrapping up some kind of cycle, some sort of way of doing things, handling things, experiencing. The World usually represents some sort of completion and culmination. So maybe some people as well are potentially getting in touch with or hearing from people from the past in order to get closure. Bonus points if you are an air sign, a Libra, Aquarius, or a Gemini. But this does seem that a lot of people are going to run into folk from their past, especially if you're traveling. I know that in America there was Thanksgiving, so perhaps traveling for the holidays and running into people from your past. But let's get into what this means for each of the individual zodiac signs. Timestamps are listed below. I hope you have a beautiful full moon, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Gemini, welcome to the full moon in your sign. So Gemini, this full moon could have you very much in the spotlight. People could be talking about you. You could be more visible. This is, of course, ruled by Mercury, so perhaps this is because of something that you have said, something that you've possibly said in the past, as Mercury is now in shadow, something that you have maybe said in terms of your beliefs, something you've maybe said in terms of your perspectives. You could be very much in the spotlight for something that you're communicating at this time, something you have communicated as well. But you could find yourself very much the main character of this full moon. It is squaring Saturn in your career sector, your sector of achievements and status and reputation. So it is possible for some Geminis that something that you have communicated or said could be causing a bit of issues at work, maybe with authority figures, maybe in terms of consequences or repercussions. But with Saturn being in your 10th house, what this is really looking like for most Geminis is perhaps the hard work that you're doing, the graft that you're putting in, it could actually be taking a bit of a toll on your physical body, your health, and your well-being. So be mindful around the time of this full moon that you could potentially need a couple of days off. You could potentially need a little bit of downtime, a little bit of time to yourself to unwind, to rest, and to recuperate, and perhaps to reflect on your own goals and ambitions for yourself and also professionally in the year ahead, Gemini. It's a nice time to reflect on what it is that you want from life, what it is that would make you feel good. This can also be a time of the full moon in your sign where you're perhaps purchasing some new clothes, something new to wear, maybe for work, or maybe something quite conservative in dress because of the square to Saturn in Pisces. It is also forming an opposition with the Sun and Mars in your relationship sector. So with Mars being in opposition to this full moon, you may have an adversary. Someone might be challenging you. Someone might be challenging your perspectives. You might find yourself in a heated conversation or a discourse around this time, Gemini, possibly with a partnership. But also equally, maybe it's just with a friend over different viewpoints or a group of people. Some of you could absolutely be in a debate around this time, actually, Gemini. Maybe debating something on a podcast or social media, or tweeting your opinion, because Mars is the ruler of your 11th house of social media. So some of you could perhaps be putting your opinion outline or challenging someone else's viewpoint, or someone could be challenging yours. The Venus South Node conjunction is happening in your 5th house. So you could absolutely run into someone that you dated, run into someone that you used to see, someone that you were romantically interested in or romantic with. Or there could be an old issue comes up with a child in order to be cleared. There could be some karma cleared when it comes to the topics of children, the topics of love, the topics of passion, joy, creativity. Oh, you have the moon. How appropriate, the full moon being in your sign. That couldn't be any more appropriate, Gemini. I think a lot of you maybe are going to... No way. The Magician. That's so weird. The next card was the Magician. So full moon in Gemini, Mercury is... The Magician is associated with the Mercury, which is obviously your ruler. So full moon, Mercury. I feel as though this is actually a pretty good full moon for you to consider your goals and your achievements. And I know that now the word gets thrown around so much, but manifestation. So what it is that you want to manifest in the world, whether that is because you believe that if you think about it, it will land in your lap, or whether it is that you believe that if you align with it, it'll be easier to come by. Whatever manifestation means to you, it feels, Gemini, as though this full moon could be a peak time of manifestation. It could also absolutely be a time when you are in the spotlight and you are seen more, you're more visible. But I do think this is going to be a time where something does actually manifest for you that is very... It seems to utilize your skill set. So I would say communication, clear thinking, logic, and what it is that you're communicating and putting out to the world could be more visible at this time. And then the flip side of that, Gemini, is something that you maybe don't want to get out does get out, or it's misconstrued, or you feel it's not what you were trying to say. There is that element of Mercury square Neptune. So just be extra mindful that you do have a platform under this full moon, and you want to make sure that what you are truly saying is getting across, although that could really be quite hard for everybody at the time of this full moon. Might be better to just manifest from home, light some candles, spell work, that kind of thing, if you're into those things. Gemini. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Cancer, welcome to the full moon in Gemini for your sign. So Cancer, this one is quite sleepy and quiet for you. You might feel more inclined to kick it at home under this full moon. You might be more tired, you might want to sleep more, you might want to play it a bit more low key. You might actually want to be in solitude completely, Cancer, because this full moon is going to be in your 12th house of solitude and transcendence. This might be a time when you're more interested in the spiritual. You might feel called to meditate more, to sleep more, to take time by yourself, to maybe journal, to maybe have a good cry. There could be some suppressed emotions come up at this time, Cancer, that may need to be expressed as well. And this might be very linked to your past, to your home, to your roots, to where you come from, because we do have a meetup between the South Node and Venus in your 4th house, which is to do with your nurturing, your homeland, your parents, where you come from, and how you feel on the inside. So with Venus in the South Node there might actually be a bit of a clearance when it comes to karma in these areas. So perhaps you're able to forgive a family member. Perhaps an issue within your home, your family, is, if it has been very tricky, that issue is actually now cleared in a positive way, and you feel like you can move forward, maybe with a parent. But I do think for a lot of you, this full moon is feeling quite emotional. You might, as I say, not be necessarily the life and soul of the party. It is going to be squaring a Saturn in your sector of belief systems. And it is going to be opposing your 6th house with Mars being there. So you might be finding that work is a little too busy, is a little too stressful. Your daily errands, your daily chores, your daily tasks and your services are maybe you're finding that you've maybe been with Mars there doing a little too much too quick, and now you're feeling a little bit tired. It might also be a time where perhaps someone at work is challenging, or there's a lot of stress at work, and this might be something that makes you feel very burnt out. And you might actually find with a full moon in the 12th house that you feel a bit sick. Sometimes full moons in the 12th can bring about a cold or a flu or something like that, and you need to rest, you need to recover. With Mars going through the 6th, Mars has this way of either giving you a huge amount of energy to go at the gym, to work really hard at your job, at the expense of knowing your limits. And then it will oppose a planet in your 12th or your 12th ruler, and it will say, my body is tired, I need to rest. Your body will make you rest. And you will find as well that the older you get, that your body will demand rest. It'll say absolutely not, no. Whereas you may have missed the cues a little bit before. So I think for a lot of you, this might be a time to rest up, Cancer, truthfully. With the square to Saturn, as I say, in your belief system, you might be pondering different ways that you see the world. Your belief system is changing. Some of you might be wanting to take a more solid, structured approach to your faith. That could be being more interested in organized religion. That can be being more interested in having a spiritual routine, praying, that kind of thing. You could be bringing more discipline to that area, more structure, more organization. Or you could even be challenging it all together, and some of you can have moments of crises of faith with Saturn being there. Your faith can absolutely be tested. There could also be some issues with visas if you're traveling long distance. That could be something that's coming up for you, or you're making some kind of move. There could be some information comes up around this time that you didn't know pertaining to travel or pertaining to documents. 10 of Wands, I think some of you are a bit burnt out. I think some of you are genuinely really tired. You've maybe taken on too much. And I want to say, for a lot of you, with the next two cards being the 4 of Wands and the 7 of Swords, this could be a time where you are forgiving a family member or a roommate, someone you live with, maybe someone that you've known in the past. You could be forgiving them with the South Node Venus in your 4th house. You could be letting bygones be bygones, or it could be that perhaps you're realizing that in your home, maybe there's a bit of unfairness when it comes to distributing the chores, distributing the work within the household. even if you live alone, you might find that you're perhaps doing too much at, every day. Maybe you're finding yourself doing too much all the time as soon as you get home, and you feel like you're not actually properly resting. So perhaps Cancer, this is a time to realize if perhaps the chores in the house with your family need to be redistributed, that you need a bit more help with something, or you're actually going to forgive someone for something from the past. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Leo, welcome to the full moon in Gemini for your sign. So Leo, this full moon is happening in your sector of friendships, networks, teams, groups, and your aspirations and wishes and goals for the future. So it's entirely possible around the time of this full moon, Leo, that these are things that are the main focus for you. This could be a big topic of conversation. There might be important news and important conversations, important information when it comes to your group that you're a part of. Maybe it's a team in work. Maybe it is your friendship group. Maybe someone in the group has a big announcement to make. For some of you, it could be a pregnancy in amongst your group of friends, because you do have a build-up in your 5th house. The Sun, Mercury, and Mars are all there as well. So it could be that someone in your group or your team is announcing a pregnancy, going on maternity or something like that. But it could also be that some of you are deciding to distance yourself from a group or a friendship. Full moons can sometimes coincide with times of letting go. Mercury does rule your 11th house and it is squaring Neptune, so there could actually be more chance of communication issues, miscommunication, misinformation when it comes to your group or when it comes to a team that you're a part of, Leo. There is a square from this full moon to Saturn in your 8th house. Saturn does rule, in traditional astrology, your relationships, but it absolutely rules your 6th house of work. And so there could be a little bit of tension when it comes to perhaps work teams or communication coming from authority towards teams that you work with, or perhaps the oldest person in your group. A group of friends has perhaps got an announcement at this time, but you might be hearing some very important information coming from a friendship or directed towards a team or a group at this time, Leo. Let's have a little look and see what's coming up for you in the cards. Death. This is interesting because we have Saturn and Neptune both in your 8th house, which is to do with death and letting go. It doesn't have to be a literal death, by the way, don't get freaked out. It can be the end of something. Full moons do tend to coincide with the end of something. So something appears to be ending for you, Leo. But interestingly enough, it could be the end of a chapter you actually don't really mind seeing the back of. What's interesting is that we have a Venus South Node conjunction in your 3rd house, which is also to do with friendships. I kind of feel like for some of you, with that being a chance to reconnect perhaps with people that you used to live in the same neighborhood as, you used to be friends with, you used to be connected to, there might also actually be a chance to let go in order to reconnect, because what your cards say, the Death card, the 2 of Wands, and the 3 of Cups, letting go of something in order to perhaps go down a new path. So maybe for some of you that is leaving a team and entering a new team. Maybe that is leaving a friendship behind but making a new friend in the process. Or maybe it's perhaps forgiving and forgetting with a friendship and reconnecting. But I do think your friendships, your teams, and your groups are the biggest thing under focus for you, Leo. And you might be wondering, after this full moon, what is next in terms of the groups that you're a part of, the socializing that you do. This might be a time when you're actually organizing something for a team. Maybe a leaving do, maybe maternity leave, but I feel like there could be something coming up for you, Leo, that is a significant milestone or aspiration for some team or group that you are a part of. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Virgo, welcome to the full moon in Gemini for your sign. So Virgo, this is happening in your 10th house. So quite like Gemini, you could actually find yourself a bit in the spotlight around the time of this full moon for your accomplishments, for your career. You could find yourself perhaps leaving a job, taking a new job, wrapping up a significant chapter in your work and professional life, and be hitting a milestone or something like that under this full moon. But your professional life is really at the forefront here. And it's interesting because there is a build-up in your family sector. So the Sun is there, Mars is there, and Mercury is there. And although Mercury will go into Capricorn in December, it will actually retrograde back into your 4th house as well. And Mercury will be squaring Neptune at the time of this full moon, and then will later square Neptune again in the retrograde cycle. So when it comes to your home life, it feels as though there could be a little bit more tension than usual with the Mercury retrograde coming up, Mercury being in shadow, Mars being there. There could be a little bit of tension with family members, with the people that you live with your home and living situation. Could be a bit of tension, miscommunication coming up there as well, maybe between one of your family members and your partner or your best friend or someone important to you in your life. There could be a bit of miscommunication and misinformation going between those two. But this full moon is putting your career into the spotlight. And there is a square to Saturn in your relationship sector happening at this time. So it could be that perhaps you're needing to commit more to a partner. You have obligations to a partner. You have plans to be somewhere with them, to do things with them. But you're finding a little bit that career is taking over. There's important announcements. There's important opportunities. There's important milestones, and you might find that a partner in your life feels a little bit neglected or disrespected or something like that if you're having to change plans or switch around your obligations and your responsibilities. Because more responsibility is kind of required from you, Virgo, in your partnership sector if you're in a relationship, or you could have a best friend going through something that needs you quite a bit with Saturn and Pisces, or a business partner that needs you quite a bit. And it just feels like you might be feeling a bit pulled in all different directions, Virgo. But with so much of this month putting an emphasis on your home life, your family life, it might be good to take a bit of time and take the full moon to reconsider your work life, your career, your ambitions, your goals, what you want for your career, what you think your purpose is, what you think your next big goal is, your next big ambition in life, Virgo. It's a good time to think about that. And you could absolutely be finding there's a lot going on at your job. There could be significant news, significant announcements, significant communication around the time of this full moon. Interesting. For you, we actually got the Ace of Swords and the Two of Swords. I think perhaps there's been an issue or something coming up in your career where you've really not been sure where you stand, you're not sure what's next. And it's like you're getting information at the time of this full moon, but it's still not entirely clear. It's not necessarily the clarity you were hoping for. There's still a bit of confusion, there's still a bit of disillusion, there's still a bit of, I'm not so sure what's next, or I'm not so sure what to do next. You could almost feel a bit blindsided by something. But the information will come with Judgment here. There will be bigger, it's almost like some of you could be getting information fed to you in drips and drabs or something like that. Drips and information sort of dripped out to you, but eventually you will get that information in that big judgment moment. So I think for a lot of you, there's perhaps you're waiting for news in your career, you're waiting for an announcement or something like that. And I do think based on these cards, the likelihood is that there will be something around the time of this full moon. But Virgo, that's what I have for you. Hope you have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Libra, welcome to the full moon in Gemini for your sign. So Libra, this full moon is going to be happening in your 9th house, and this is the house of expansion. This is the house of higher education, your belief systems, philosophy, religion, law, and traveling. So some of you could absolutely be traveling around the time of this full moon, taking a trip, taking some kind of voyage, maybe planning a trip, maybe getting news or information surrounding a trip. There's a bit of trickiness to this because Mercury is going to be squaring Neptune, and this is going to be part of the Mercury retrograde cycle, which is going to go over the festive period. So if you are planning to travel during the festive period, just be extra cautious when it comes to details, when it comes to information, flight times, train availability, those kind of things could all be a bit problematic over the festive period. I hate to say, Mercury retrograde over that time is typically a bit chaotic. Just be mindful of that if you are planning a trip, Libra, that there could be a bit of back and forth or a little bit of confusion or misinformation or misinterpretation of the information. And this could be true if you're reading some sort of travel document or legal document, or you're involved in some sort of legality or legal case. There could be a bit of communication issues going on around that too. But these are the areas of life where there could absolutely be news for you, Libra. So there might be some sort of legal news comes up if you're involved in a case. It could also be that perhaps you are really thinking about your belief systems and what you believe to be true, your relationship to religion, your relationship to philosophy. Could be things that you're thinking about with this full moon being in the 9th house. For some of you, you could actually be getting a degree, wrapping up a course of higher study, getting a master's, getting a diploma, graduating, taking exams. Your career education could very much be in at the forefront of your mind at the time of this full moon, Libra. And I also get the sense with this, the square to Saturn going through your 6th house, it could be that you may find yourself having to travel for work, and you might find this a little bit draining or a bit exhausting, or you might find this a little bit restrictive, or there could be restrictions coming in from your work towards your opportunities to travel, your opportunities to move around, or perhaps express your beliefs as well. Could be something coming up too. I mean, we have quite a lot of energy for you, Libra, in your Sagittarius house, which is your 3rd house of communication. So we have Mars there, we have Mercury there, we have the Sun there. And Mercury is going to go retrograde later in Capricorn, but retrograde back into this house. Mercury is squaring Neptune, and that's a bigger part of the retrograde cycle. So misinformation and communication. It could be there could be moments where you find it very hard to be understood for what you're trying to say. You feel as though maybe people are hearing you wrong when you're trying to express yourself, and this could be something that maybe leads to a little bit of tension or discord in your life at the same time, Libra. We do have the Venus South Node meetup in your 1st house, and this can be an opportunity to clear a little bit of your own karma, perhaps when it comes to your relationships, perhaps when it comes to your aesthetic, your relationship to image, your relationship to how you see yourself, your relationship with yourself. There could be a bit of a reset where you forgive yourself for something you did in the past, or something that you felt in the past, or you feel now. It can be a chance to wipe the slate clean with yourself, which is the most important relationship that you have. So this Venus South Node meetup could absolutely have you letting go of an old problem with yourself, or an old issue with yourself. And this might also be a time where you're actually bringing back some stuff you used to wear, an old style, maybe letting go of a way of styling yourself now and going to something that's a bit more authentic to you, Libra. That can be your hair as well, the way you style your hair, or the way you style yourself in general, how you dress, your avatar. So much like Cancer, you got the 10 of Wands, which is making me feel as though you're feeling a bit burnt out as well, Libra, at the time of this full moon. Now, I will say, whenever a personal planet is affected by the South Node, as you probably have if you're Libra watching this, because you'll either be Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising. When the South Node connects to a personal planet, it can be a beautiful time to let go of some karma, let go of some wounds, but it can also be very tiring and exhausting. I feel with the 10 of Wands, the 3 of Cups, and the Temperance card, Libra, that a lot of you could actually be healing through groups of people, or healing issues with groups of people. So Mars going through your 3rd house, Mercury being there could be a bit of miscommunication, misinformation. I get the sense with this lineup that you could be healing a relationship where there was discord in a group, or stress in a group, or things were not being distributed fairly within a group, working as a team, for example. Maybe there wasn't fairness there. The Temperance card is giving me the sense of calming the waters, healing, finding patience, finding balance, finding moderation with a group of people for a lot of you, Libra. And I also think there might be a little clue here to just let off some steam in general and have a little fun if you are feeling overburdened, to get your work-life balance into play is something that does seem to be coming up for you, Libra. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Scorpio, welcome to the full moon in Gemini for your sign. So Scorpio, this full moon is happening in your 8th house. Now this is a familiar energy for you because you are the sign associated with the 8th house. It's all about sex, death, letting go, regeneration, shared resources, your partner's money, your spouse's money, the money that you get through other people where you share finances, those kind of things. So it's sharing. It's a house of circulation. So this could be a time where there's maybe something coming up for you in terms of money. That could be some significant information regarding your partner's money, your partner's finances. This could be to do with taxes, money that you get from the government, or a loan or a mortgage. There could be significant information or news coming up around this time for you, Scorpio. Now, the trickiness with this is that Mercury, which rules this full moon, is going to be in your sector of finances, the money that you make, and squaring Neptune in the 5th house. If you have an issue with gambling or spending a little too freely, this might be something that you are addressing over the wider Mercury retrograde period, which is going to be lasting for most of December. Mercury is already in shadow as of the 25th of November, goes retrograde on the 13th of December, and will go direct the 1st of January 2024. So this is going to be an ongoing chapter because Mercury will square Neptune again. And with Mercury in your sector of your own spending, you might want to reevaluate this sector, and with it squaring Neptune in your 5th house, spending money on alcohol, fun, recreational activities, hobbies, gambling, that kind of thing, you may be discovering where there's a bit of a money pit going on in your life, and this might be something that is affecting you financially. But it does feel like there could be some sort of information coming up linking to other people's money. Now, if this isn't to do with finances, because the 8th house can also be a very psychological house, it could be that you're getting some sort of, you're having some sort of conversation that feels a bit like therapy. So this could actually be therapy, but you might be having a conversation that triggers you. It really impacts you. You might be noticing how your conversations perhaps trigger other people, or how other people are triggering you, and what the psychological factor is at play here. You could be searching for the psychological fact and maybe even forgetting to feel your feelings, with this being Gemini. But nonetheless, I think a lot of you could be really investigating why certain words or certain communication styles affect you, what your relationship to communication actually is, and whether or not you feel as though you are as open to other people's perspectives and opinions as you would hope they were for you. So your relationship to communication, your relationship to words, your relationship to effective communication, and also how you think from a psychological perspective, also somewhat from a perhaps childhood perspective or through the lens of your own children. The square to Saturn is saying that perhaps your children, whatever age they are, whatever age you are maybe giving you something, some kind of tough lesson when it comes to communication or how you communicate. Or it could be that you're thinking of your own childhood and what kind of communication was going on with you there, and how that is impacting you now. And you might find this the opportunity to draw a line in the sand. Because something else that's going on for you, Scorpio, is that Venus is connected to the South Node in your 12th house. This is a huge karmic reset. This might be a time when you're ready to finally forgive someone who hurt you very deeply from the past. Someone who really still, the name, the memory, you think of them and you feel as if they're in the room. You feel the energy, you feel upset, you feel like you could cry, you feel like you could scream, you feel like you could kick something. You feel this overwhelming sense of energy. You might be finally ready to let go of that in some way, shape or form. And in whatever way that you let go of that, I don't know. But it feels this could be a cathartic moment to let go. I do think for many of you, it could be a relationship, a romantic relationship or a business relationship that felt like a betrayal, because Venus rules your partnerships in your astrology chart. So you might be finally letting go. Some of you might also be, with this being Venus in the South Node, reconnecting with somebody from the past and choosing to forgive them. And this does not have to be romantic. It could absolutely be a friend. It could be a best friend. It could be someone that you were very close to. It could also be that you're just sort of realizing that you have let go of somebody, and it's a pleasant feeling for you, Scorpio. But the South Node next to Venus in your 12th house, it feels like you're maybe forgiving a betrayal or a relationship where you really did not foresee the events that unfolded. So let's have a little look for Scorpio. Two of Wands. This has come up for somebody else as well. The Death card and the Empress. Do you know, interestingly, similar cards are coming up for a lot of different signs. The Death card obviously is your energy. I feel like you're looking to make changes. The Empress, as you can see in the stone, is Venus. I think a lot of you are going to let go with the Venus context. So you're going to start looking at past years new. You're more looking to the future, and you're ready to let go maybe of that old relationship, or Someone perhaps that you put on a pedestal unnecessarily, or your relationship to your worth is changing, your self-worth, the way that you feel about yourself. Your beauty standards may be changing too, with the Empress as well. Or you might be seeing something through the eyes of your children, or learning something through your children as well. That is what I have for you, Scorpio, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Sagittarius, welcome to the full moon in Gemini for your sign. This is happening in your partnership sector. So this can be your partnership, your marriage, business relationship, best friend, or you have a very close one-on-one relationship with another person. But it usually does come up as partnership. So because this is a full moon, this could be that Sagittarius, you are perhaps letting go of a relationship that you're currently in. That's one way that this could be working. Or this full moon could be highlighting issues within your relationship. And this might be to do with restrictions, limitations when it comes to your home life, where you live, what your family is like, who you live with, your home, your property, moving. These could be areas that are bringing a bit of tension to your relationship life. So perhaps you're realizing that you would like to be in a relationship, but you live in the middle of nowhere and you're not connecting to anybody. This could be something that you realize around the time of the full moon is holding you back. It could also be that if you're in a partner or looking to move or looking to renovate or refurbish or anything like that, Sagittarius, it's just adding a bit of stress. And your partner might be quite stressed at this time. It might also be that if you're in a relationship, your family maybe does not approve, and this is causing some issues and some friction around the time of this full moon as well. You're feeling feisty though, because you have Mars in your sign, you have Mercury in your sign, so you're feeling incredibly blunt, you're feeling incredibly direct, you're feeling incredibly forthright. But Mercury is in shadow, and Mercury is squaring Neptune. And you might find that what you say, it does not go down very well when it comes to your family or your roommates or to do with a living situation, because these are the areas that encounter miscommunication, misinformation, misinterpretation, lack of clarity, and in some cases outright deception. So you might be trying to tell a bit of a porky at this time, Sagittarius, and you could absolutely be caught out very easily. Or it could be someone's trying to do that on you and you realize that they're trying to pull a fast one, and it brings out a lot of information that perhaps you didn't foresee. But it feels as though, Sagittarius, you might be feeling this full moon quite intensely. It could absolutely be emphasizing your relationship to your family, your relationship to your spouse, your partner, or a best friend in your life. This could also be that if you are single, you maybe do encounter a new relationship around this time, a new potential partner. They could be someone that maybe goes a little bit out of the grain when it comes to what your family would expect of you, or it could be someone that's from out of town, or it could be someone who's a little bit different to what would be considered conventional for you, Sagittarius. Now, we do have a Venus South Node meet up in Libra, which is your 11th house of friendships, groups. So for a lot of you, you're resetting karma when it comes to the groups that you're a part of, teams, friendships. You might be choosing to forgive a friend that you've maybe fallen out with. You might be realizing that if you had a traumatic experience, or you were having trouble with a team, you were having trouble with a group of people, with a particular goal or aspiration, you might find that this is a good time to wipe the slate clean. Things could be resolved. Things could get better, Sagittarius, with this particular energy for you. Venus in the South Node tends to clear the karma. It can also bring people back from the past, old friends, people that you knew through social media, people that you knew through the internet, groups that you were a part of, people that you used to be in the same team as. Ooh, 7 of Cups. Justice. And the 10 of Swords. Yeah, there could be a little bit of Do you know, I kind of get the sense that perhaps if you may realize that something was not, you may realize that something was not fair, or something was not fair and this has hurt you quite deeply. I do get the sense, Sagittarius, that for a lot of you, you could be finding that there has been disappointment maybe when it came to a legal case, or some sort of contract, some sort of negotiation. I just feel with the Ten of Swords, something may not have gone in your favor. Something could also have been deceptive or elusive with the Seven of Cups. There might have been a lot of options, but they didn't necessarily go favorably for you. And you might be finding that this is a time when you want to wipe the slate clean. I also suspect for some of you with this full moon being in the 7th house and Justice and the Ten of Swords, you could absolutely be going through a divorce, or some of you could be deciding to split with your partner at the time of this full moon as well. That's what I have for you, Sagittarius, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Capricorn, welcome to the full moon in Gemini for your sign. So Capricorn, this is happening in your 6th house. So this is bringing to your attention matters surrounding your work, your health, your well-being, and self-improvement. So mainly your health, Capricorn, is what I'm seeing as being very important around the time of this full moon. There could be information comes to light surrounding your health and well-being, because Gemini is a sign about information, communication. There could be important news, important communication going on about your health, about your well-being, about your physical well-being, your mental well-being, all these type of things, because we do now have a bit of a pile-up with the Sun, Mars, and Mercury in your 12th house, and Mercury is going to be part of the retrograde cycle. So what I'm kind of seeing for you, Capricorn, is that there could absolutely be some information surrounding your health. If you've had an ongoing health issue or health concern, there could be some information about this. The problem is that it might not necessarily be as clear and concise as you would like it to be. Mercury squaring Neptune in Pisces, Pisces being your 3rd house, which is also communication. Being at discord with Mercury, which rules communication, in your 12th house, it feels very foggy. It feels very confusing. It feels very uncertain and unsure. I would say if you do have something comes up with health, Capricorn, Gemini is a sign of duality, twins, maybe get a second opinion. Maybe get a second perspective. Maybe try and see somebody else about an issue if you feel like the communication's not clear, if you feel like the information is not necessarily clear, seek a second opinion. Some of you may also be deciding you want to try something a little bit more holistic between the square from Neptune and Mercury, because Pisces and Sagittarius are very open, mutable signs, and Neptune's very into spirituality and very into something alternative in terms of its healing. So I think a lot of you could be maybe seeking a second opinion when it comes to your health and well-being, especially because this full moon is squaring Saturn, your ruler, in your 3rd house. You could be thinking very hard about this, and it just might not necessarily seem right to you. So you could be looking at a different way of approaching health or well-being. This could be something as well as, say you were on a fitness journey and you step on the scales and you were very confused at why it was suddenly so high. It could be water retention. Do you know what I mean? It's just an example where you're maybe not getting the full information about something health-wise. Something could be skewed. It's not quite right. You know, something as simple as that. But it could also be that if you're getting health news at this time, you might want to seek a second opinion, because it might not necessarily be totally clear to you the first time. We do have a Venus South Node conjunction in your 10th house. So this is where the full moon can become a bit about work. And so you might be hearing something about a job at this time, with the 6th house ruling your work and the South Node Venus meet up in your 10th. You could be hearing about a job. Again, it might not necessarily be totally clear what it is that you're hearing, but there could be perhaps an opportunity to interview, an opportunity to go for a promotion, but the terms and conditions aren't necessarily clear. So don't be afraid to ask more questions, to double check, to fact check, that kind of thing, Capricorn. Or if you're offered a job, don't be afraid to ask for more information and get 100% certain on what the next step is going to entail for you. I feel with Venus in the South Node, if you've been having a bit of a rough time with work or career or progression, this could be a good time to wipe the slate clean. This can be a karmic reset with Venus in the South Node, where maybe things are going to start going a bit better going forward. You might also have the opportunity to reconnect with a job or reconnect with someone that you used to work with, someone that you used to be professionally linked to. Some of you, if you're single, could even reconnect with someone you used to work with, and it could be romantic. Romantic this time around. The Lovers just popped out, so that's a pretty significant hint and the Star and Temperance. Beautiful cards. Beautiful cards, Capricorn. So I feel like for a lot of you with the Lovers, the Star and the Temperance, there's some significant healing going on for you. The moon in astrology does rule your relationships and your partnerships. So the full moon being in Gemini, Lovers being the Gemini, this could be an opportunity for you to heal a key relationship in your life, to forgive, to forget. For some of you, it could be your father, with this being the 10th house. But I also feel like some of you are going to be put in a position to make a choice. And if you lead with your heart, you will make the right one with these cards. I do think there seems to be a lot of healing going on when it comes to relationships as well for you, Capricorn. Seems to be a lot of healing when it comes to partnership, when it comes to collaborations, relationships in general. So maybe some of you are healing some relationship wounding at this time with Venus in the South Node as well. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Aquarius, welcome to the full moon in Gemini for your sign. So Aquarius, the matters highlighted for you under this full moon are love, romance, creativity, and your children. So for some of you, this could be a time when you're spending more time with your children, with children in your family. This could also be a time where you're finding out that you're pregnant or you're giving birth, or it could be a time of conception for a lot of Aquarius risings. And this is a time when you're really focused or thinking about your relationship to creativity, your artistic pursuits, what you do for fun, what you do for pleasure, what your hobbies are. Perhaps there's a new romantic interest comes up around this time, or there's a peak moment with a romantic interest. With this being in your 5th house, you're maybe going on a date, or maybe your partner is surprising you with something romantic, you're going to the theatre. The trouble is, Aquarius, is that your traditional ruler, Saturn, is actually squaring this full moon in your financial sector. So some of you could find that, yes, there's something you want to do for fun, but it's going to cost a bit of money. Or yes, you've found out you're pregnant and you're thinking, okay, I need to get my finances in order. There seems to be like a financial sobriety coming into whatever it is that you're doing, or whatever it is that you see as fun, whatever it is that you see as pleasurable or makes you happy. There's a financial sobriety attached to it. Aquarius. There could also be a bit of tension and miscommunication when it comes to your friendships, the groups that you're a part of. You might say something that actually, or someone might say something to you in a group that doesn't go down well. It's not picked up correctly. There's miscommunication. You know, there's somebody that you're trying to communicate with in a team, in a group, and it just feels like it's going wrong. It's not being heard right. They're reading between the lines too much. They're reading into things. Mercury square Neptune is not great for communication, and so information is not clear. And because Mercury is in your sector of groups and Neptune's in your sector of values, your heart might be in the right place, but someone in your group might take it the wrong way. Or there could be a bit of communication when it comes to perhaps money, finances, or a gift, for example, as we're going up to the holiday season. Could be miscommunication about these areas. You could order something online as well, Aquarius, that goes missing or doesn't arrive, or there could be an issue with online purchasing and things like that too. So just be mindful of that. Double check that the payment's gone through, double check it's a reputable site, double check it's gone to the right address, that kind of stuff as well, Aquarius. We do have a Venus South Node meet up in your 9th house, so there could be some karmic clearing when it comes to perhaps a visa issue, travel documentation, travel plans. If you're living abroad, if you're traveling and there's been some trouble there, this is a good time for things to start to resolve. This could also be healing your belief system, your relationship to religion, to spirituality, and what your connection to those areas is. This might be a reset for you, and you might start to feel a bit differently about those areas, Aquarius. The Empress. Some of you could absolutely be experiencing a pregnancy at this time, Aquarius. Giving birth, getting pregnant. Some of you it's creative. I do feel with the 4 of Cups and the 9 of Pentacles though, if people around you are giving you compliments, take them. Take the compliments, take the appreciation, take the affection, take the offerings that people want to give you, because you might actually feel better if you do start saying thank you instead of pushing away the opportunity to be loved and accepted and appreciated. That seems to be a key message for you, Aquarius. Allow yourself to be loved, appreciated, and accepted, and accept the compliments. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Pisces, welcome to the full moon in Gemini for your sign. So Pisces, this is happening in your 4th house of home, family, your parents, your roots, where you come from, where you're living, your property. And so this may bring these matters to the attention. You might be viewing a property, you might be purchasing a property, selling a home, moving, renovating, redecorating. There could be a key moment, a peak moment in your home and living situation with your family, with your parents, Pisces. Now, I will say there's a bit of a sobering element to this for you because it is going to be square Saturn in your sign. So this could be something that you're going to have to commit to. So buying a home is a big commitment. Moving is a big commitment. And you might be doing a lot of it on your own with Saturn being there. But it's also entirely possible that this is just going to be something that is a big commitment and responsibility for you when it comes to your home and living situation. And it may also be a time when you have to set up a particular boundary or limitation when it comes to your family members. You might have to set up some kind of boundary when it comes to how they speak to you, how you speak to them. Your roommates, even if you have those limitations maybe put in place there where you're saying, don't come into my room unannounced, don't knock on my door after 9, whatever this is. You could be setting up some sort of boundary with the people that you live with. So that's happening, but there's also a lot happening in your career sector, Pisces. We have Mercury there, we have the Sun there, and we have Mars there. So it kind of feels as though there may be more aggressors than usual in the workplace. People might be a bit more challenging. Your boss might be a bit more temperamental, a bit more pushy. You could have to really push your energy into a project or meeting a deadline, or it could be very busy in work. Or you could be feeling more financially motivated in your career because Mars rules your second house of money. Mercury is going to be in shadow at the point of this full moon already. And it is going to be squaring Neptune in your first house. So around the time of this full moon, honestly, when it comes to your career, you might be a little bit elusive. You might actually want to run away from responsibilities. You might be really tired and just want to daydream and play and create and all these kind of things. You could be very sleepy, and there could be miscommunications with a boss or miscommunications with a person in a position of authority in the workplace because you're a bit elusive. You're a bit avoidant. And you're quite hard to pin down. It could also be that work is trying to communicate with you, or someone in a position of authority is trying to communicate with you, or a family member is trying to communicate with you and you're a little bit more MIA. You could actually be lost in action. You could have accidentally switched your phone off and you don't realize. Something like that. You could be quite hard to pin down. Pisces, you might not be replying to anybody either. We have a Venus South Node meet up in your 8th house. So if there's been a crisis in your life, a psychological crisis, an emotional crisis, you might be finding that this is starting to clear. You might be finding that this is starting to dissipate. If it has been surrounding maybe your partner's money, if it's been surrounding shared resources, mortgages, loans, that kind of thing. Or it could be surrounding a sibling or a neighbor or a cousin, because Venus rules your 3rd house as well. There's been crises in these areas. Things might start to clear up around this time, particularly if it is a family member, a cousin, a sibling, an aunt, and uncle, because this full moon is happening in your 4th house of home and family. So let's get Pisces some car. Ooh, King of Wands wanted to fly out, so I'll put him down for a second. Pisces. The Fool and the King of Swords. You have so many kings. Well, I say so many. You have 2 kings. So Pisces, there seems to be people playing a big part in your full moon. We have the King of Swords and we have the King of Wands, and we have the Fool in the middle. I feel like for some of you, there could be an Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, or a Libra, Gemini, Aquarius in the bigger picture of this full moon. These could be key signs playing a role in your everyday life. There does seem to be a new beginning, and I feel as though you're maybe taking a chance, possibly on a new person or possibly on an old person with Venus in the South Node. But there seems to be a new beginning happening with 2 different people, so I'm not quite sure why that's working out in your life, Pisces. I have to draw a clarifier. Queen of Swords. We have the King and the Queen. Okay, one more. The Magician. Okay, so people are going to help you around the time of this full moon, Pisces. That's why so many people are showing up in your reading. I feel as though perhaps some of you are going to be finding yourself hearing from a lot of different people, friendships, relationships, work, home. There's like a lot of people that are kind of pulling on your energy, and you're maybe wanting to be a fool. You're maybe wanting to take an adventure, to take a trip, to be elusive, to be carefree, and all these people are sort of pulling on your energy, tugging on your energy, while you're wanting to be a little bit more footloose and fancy free with Mercury squaring Neptune. You're wanting to avoid conversations, you're wanting to avoid your responsibilities. With the King and the Queen showing up, some of you could actually be manifesting a very intellectually matched relationship if you're looking for a relationship, but some of you could also be finding in a current relationship the communication actually is almost getting better the more that you step away from the issue. And I don't mean that in a toxic way, I just mean that maybe not focusing so much on resolving things and giving it a bit of breathing space might actually be helpful, Pisces, with whatever it is that you've got going on. But it does seem that air signs and fire signs are really tugging on your energy under this full moon. So you must let me know why that is. Pisces. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Aries, welcome to the full moon in Gemini for your sign. So Aries, this woman's very mental for you. It's very much based on what it is that you're thinking about right now, what you know to be true, facts. You could be finding a lot of things are piquing your curiosity at this time. You're really interested in different topics, different books, different TV shows, whatever it is. You're really engaged in something right now. It's really piquing your interest. You're very curious about it, and you're maybe wanting to learn everything about it. You could be feeling a bit hyper-focused on something. This can also bring about events pertaining to your siblings, to your cousins, to your extended family, like aunts, uncles, even your neighbours or your local neighbourhood. There could be something happening with one of those people or in your local neighbourhood at this time, a peak event. The full moon, the moon itself does rule home and family, so this could be absolutely associated with a family member for you. Some important information coming out about your town or about a family member, or important communication with one of these people or about one of these places. But there is a square from Saturn in your 12th house to this full moon, and Saturn going through your 12th is kind of saying to you, Aries, it's time to do the work when it comes to your emotions. The emotions that you've maybe suppressed, the emotions that you've maybe pushed down, the emotions that you've not dealt with. I swear I think I saw a dog run past the window. It's not mine. Maybe that's significant for you. But yes, there does seem to be hard work going on in your 12th house where you're doing the inner work, you're doing the inner healing, you're embracing shadow work, spiritual work, in order to help yourself heal from events in the past or events that you have stuffed down or suppressed for whatever reason, or the areas where you self-sabotage. And this might be where you've been self-sabotaging in terms of your own thinking, the way that you communicate as well. There does seem to be a bit of trouble with communication because Mercury and Neptune are in a square, and Neptune going through your 12th house, Mercury going through your 9th. There could absolutely be miscommunication when it comes to travel plans, when it comes to adventure plans, the detailing surrounding a travel opportunity. There could also be trouble when it comes to talking about different viewpoints, different ways of seeing the world, different spiritual beliefs, religious beliefs. There could be a bit of discord going on there for you as well, Aries. I feel like you're very motivated to travel. You're very motivated to stick up for your beliefs with Mars being there. But because of the square coming in from Saturn, just be careful that you're not looking for opportunities, subconsciously so, to push people away from getting too close to you, because Saturn going through the 12th house can sometimes be quite isolating, and this can be because of a self-sabotaging mechanism. So we also have a Venus South Node meet up in your 7th house. So some of you could absolutely be running into an ex, an old relationship, a spouse, an old partnership, an old best friend, something like that. You could really run into someone from your past that you used to be in a relationship with, or you could be reconnecting with an old relationship, or quite simply resetting your relationship karma, whatever that is for you. You could be releasing an old pattern, dating the same type of person, healing from a past relationship. Aries could be something that's coming up for you as well. The Hermit. Okay, the Hermit, the Knight of Cups, and the Nine of Cups. Do you know what? I kind of get the sense that a lot of you are really working on self-love with the Hermit energy, the Knight of Cups, and the Nine of Cups. I think a lot of you are working on feeling emotionally satisfied yourself, focusing on making yourself happy rather than relying on someone else to make you happy. Some of you with the Hermit and the Knight of Cups could absolutely hear from or communicate with someone from your past. And it could be that perhaps some of you are deciding that you want to go inward and be on your own for a bit to work out your relationship karma or to heal from a breakup or something like that too, Aries. That is what I have for you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Taurus, welcome to the full moon in Gemini for your sign. So Taurus, this is happening in your second house of money. So this might be a time when your financial situation is changing. It might be multiplying. You might be getting two different incomes because you do have a Gemini second house. So a lot of the time, Taurus risings have two different ways of making money in their life. It doesn't have to be, but it could be the way you make money is changing. It could be that you're perhaps getting a pay rise, a bonus, or it could be that perhaps you're letting go of a way of making money. It might also be that you're setting up a savings account, Taurus, because this is forming a square with Saturn in your 11th house of the future. So you're getting very serious about the future, a bit somber, a bit sober about the future, and you're saying, I need to save for this if I want to do this. So you maybe are setting up a savings account so that you're not losing money. You're trying to figure out the best way to invest your money. We do have the Sun, Mars, and Mercury in your 8th house. So if you have a partner, when it comes to their finances, there could be a little bit of miscommunication and confusion. If they're getting news, just be mindful it might not necessarily be so clear with Mercury in a square to Neptune. They might not necessarily be getting the full story when it comes to their own finances. For a lot of you, if it's to do with a loan, governmental money, so a mortgage, a bank loan, government payments, whatever it is, there could be a bit of miscommunication and a bit of back and forth for you, Taurus, surrounding shared finances and shared resources. There could even be a little bit of conflict there. So if you have an inheritance or you have money that you get from the government for whatever reason, it might be a case that there's a bit of conflict or a bit of pushback with Mars being there. You might have to fight your corner effectively, Taurus. It might also be for a lot of you with this particular full moon, because Venus and the South Node are meeting up in Libra, which is your 6th house. You might be finding yourself clearing the karma when it comes to your health. So if there's been an ongoing health issue or you've been having a bit of a crisis, you might actually be finding under this full moon that there's a chance to wipe the slate clean with this Venus South Node meetup. It might also be that you're releasing some bad habits when it comes to your health, your well-being, and your fitness as well, Taurus. And it can also be that if you've had trouble with a co-worker or an employee, this can also be an opportunity to wipe the slate clean and start over. But it feels for you, Taurus, that this is very much about your money. There does seem to be a sense of wanting to save for the future, wanting to make better financial decisions for the future, or considering your financial future, Taurus, is something that seems to be coming up for you as well. Because Venus is your 1st house ruler and it's connected with the South Node, I also feel like you're letting go of something in terms of your image and your aesthetic. So a lot of you could be cutting your hair. A lot of you could be letting go of a particular food that you eat, Taurus. But wow, you have some really cute cards. Hang on one second. My low battery sign is coming up. Maybe your battery's running a bit low. But what I got for you, Taurus, is the 6 of Wands, the Empress, and the 10 of Cups. You appear to have something really abundant coming into your life, Taurus. I feel like financially, maybe a lot of you are getting a promotion and getting a raise, getting a bonus. With the Empress and the 6 of Wands, it's maybe making you happy. You can maybe put it towards a home. You can maybe put it towards a vacation or some sort of goal for the future. I feel like a lot of you have your eye on the prize, and I think there could be something very exciting happening for you at this time. You might also be getting more in touch with yourself, practicing better self-love, feeling forgiving, being able to let go of an old chapter in your life and embrace who you are. With Jupiter still being in your sign and Uranus being there, to live in a more authentic state of being for you, Taurus. Really cute. That's what I have for you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.